New information has surfaced in the ongoing land scandal involving the Ministry of Natural Resources, and is putting even more pressure on officials to explain how prime beachfront property in Independence Village ended up in the hands of someone with close ties to the corridors of power. News 5 has obtained an internal document showing that an application to purchase 22 acres of land at Malacate Beach was approved for Charles Anthony Price, a resident of Orange Walk. But here's the part that's causing concern. Credible sources tell News 5 that Price is the brother of the Prime Minister's driver. For Sherene Garbutt, the Independence villager who was actively pursuing a lease for that same land, this revelation only deepens her frustration and her suspicion that something isn't right.
To my shock and dismay, I later discovered the land had already been sold and titled to Mr. Charles Price on April 29, 2025. I also learned that Mr. Price is the brother of the Prime Minister's driver, which raised serious concern about political favoritism and a potential conflict of interest.
For 3 years, Sherene Garbutt followed all the steps laid out by the Ministry of Natural Resources. She got approval to survey the land, paid for it, and submitted her lease application. But somewhere in the middle of that process, the land was quietly sold to someone else. Here's what we've learned. The application to purchase was submitted to Minister Curdle Hyde on April 29th, and it was approved. But by that time, lease number 680 of 2024 had already been issued to Charles Price. Was the Lands Commissioner unaware of all this when he told Garbutt just this past July that her paperwork was still sitting in the minister's files? He even told her he was working on her documents. Now, Garbutt is left wondering whether this was a case of miscommunication or something more troubling.
I have documented communication with Mr. Brackett, who at one point acknowledged that the file was still under ministerial review. However, at this time, my inquiries were ignored. It is highly concerning that political influence may have played a role in the reassigning of this land. The individual to whom the land was granted may not even be familiar with its location. Meanwhile, citizens like myself who follow proper procedure are pushed aside without an explanation or justice.
The official purchase price for those 22 acres of prime beachfront land was just $10,000. That's right, 10 grand for a massive piece of property in one of the most sought after areas in southern Belize. To put that into perspective, a quick online search shows that land on the southern side of Malacate Road is going for as much as $45,000 for less than an acre on the private market. So how does someone walk away with 22 acres for a fraction of that price? It turns out Sherene Garbutt isn't alone. Since News 5 broke the story on Wednesday, more people have been coming forward with similar claims, and one case has even reached the High Court. San Pedro resident Lisa Guerrero says she's been living on and investing in a piece of land in Secret Beach since 2004. But despite applying for a lease last September, the ministry gave the title to someone else just 3 months later, Orange Walk resident Beverly Anglin. Now Guerrero is suing Anglin, the Attorney General, the Lands Registrar, and Minister Curdle Hyde. She wants the title cancelled, claiming it's unlawful and violates her rights. She's also seeking damages, and she's being represented by Barrow and Williams LLP. Garbutt's demands echoes Guerrero's, raising even more questions about how land is being handled by the ministry.
I am therefore requesting that the government honor my legitimate expectation and either return the original 22.24 acres of land to me or provide a comparable parcel of land within the Malacate area not in unrelated location. If this matter is not resolved remotely and fairly, I will be forced to pursue legal action, include engaging legal counsel, and bring public attention to the mishandling of land matters in Lands Department. This situation is not only unjust but also indicative of broader systematic issues that must be addressed.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.